Oh, good morning. Craig here on Rainbow Radio, back from a brief break, I have to say, from last week, last Sunday, and I don't know what to do. Maybe you can help. How about that? When I can't make it in because I have a prior engagement or something, and I don't want people to bother tuning in and then find out, oh, where the heck is he? And he didn't tell me. So I'm open to suggestions. I'm thinking that I could send an email to all the listeners and say that we will place just some lovely music in my absence, but that I'll be back the following week. And then also announce it the prior week if I know in advance, but often I don't, because some of these things come up, particularly if it's a family emergency or something that I didn't anticipate. Oh, however, I will have to admit I did anticipate this last weekend, and we had a fabulous event. Who said the LGBTQ community is not thriving in Laguna Beach? Because they are wrong. We had an event at Mozambique last week, and we sold out the joint. It was to the walls, and it was a fun time. You can check it out on Laguna Beach Pride's Facebook page, all the photographs of all the happy. And Dora, bless her heart, was in top form. And Jonathan and Michelle and myself, who kind of coordinated it, but I say I give a lot of respect to Jonathan and Michelle. Jonathan, he's an event planner, so it's nice to have on the team when you have an event as someone who is professional in that regard, and he is very professional. And I have to say, Kim, who is, I'm not sure her title, but they said manager at, I don't know sure if she's a department manager, head of the staff or whatever, but at Mozambique, she is fabulous. She was so helpful with everything that went there. And even Ivan, the owner, came by and gave it a thumbs up. So we're going to be back in September, it looks like, with another Sunday brunch, which I think we don't want to do it too often, but it's and we raised money for the Friendship Shelter here in Laguna Beach, which I don't know if you remember, recently I had Dawn on the program from the Friendship Shelter. And, it may have been Dawn was with us at, no, I think it was, I do two programs here at KXFM. And in my advanced years, well, let's just say I'm past 50. Sometimes I forget which program I had the guest on, but I can't, I'm not certain, but it was either Art Walking Art, which is coming this Thursday with a new guest, or it was Rainbow Radio. But Dawn is the director of the Friendship Shelters where I was going. And Dawn explained to me many things about people without houses, people without homes. I can't imagine. Anyway, the model for Friendship Shelter has a phenomenal success rate. And the statistics that bear this out are undeniable. So they have found hold on. They found a formula. Hold that thought. I'm going to answer my phone here for just a second. I will come right back after this next song, which is David Archuleta's new creme brulee. Hold on.
Another man down, another heart left on the dance floor. Took a bite, now he wants more. Words flow right out of his mouth. Yeah, like he's never had sugar before. Don't care about the main course. One night and I'm singing my praises. 2 shots from the honeymoon phases. 3 with phrases, skipping stages. It's all over your face like, oh no. There goes all of your clothes. Speaking words you don't know. Yo te vuelvo loco, loco. Oh no, you want me in slow mo. Snap me like a photo. Yo te vuelvo loco, loco. I can't help but you don't wanna wait. Okay, now you've had a taste of creme brulee. You say, oh no, there goes all of your clothes. Speaking words you don't know. Yo te vuelvo loco, loco for you. Won't leave my bedroom. Your serotonin on the nightstand. I'm not even trying. One night and I'm singing my praises. 2 times and I got you saying 3 word phrases, skipping stages. Oh no, there goes all of your clothes. Speaking words you don't know. Yo te vuelvo loco, loco. Oh no, you want me in slow mo. Snap me like a photo. Yo te vuelvo loco, loco. I can't help but you don't wanna wait. Okay, now you have a taste of creme brulee. You say, oh no, there goes all of your clothes. Speaking words you don't know. Yo te vuelvo loco, loco. Man, just one night, have the best night of your life. No te jodo, es que esto es amor. Oh, I'm just too tired, sugary and caramelized. No te jodo, okay. Oh no, there goes all of your clothes. Speaking words you don't know. Yo te vuelvo loco, loco. Oh no, you want me in slow mo. Snap me like a photo. Yo te vuelvo loco, loco. But you don't wanna wait, okay? Now you've had a taste of creme brulee. You say, oh no, there goes all of your clothes. Speaking words you don't know. Yo te vuelvo loco, loco.
Oh, that was David Archuleta and his new song. I have to apologize. I have a guest today, and she was calling in, and I went to answer, and she wasn't there. I know it rang for a while, but I'm hoping she'll return the call because we need to discuss many things that the real conversation that Jesus wants us to have is her book. And her name is Regina V. Cates, and she speaks about spirituality. And I have a lot of, well, maybe we need a lot of spirituality lately. It looks like she's calling in right now. Let's see if we can get her on the air. Hello, Regina? Let me put you on live. Are you ready? Oh, all right. Can you hear? Oh, so can our audience. I am just so happy. I thought I know you were ringing in, and I tried to get to the phone, and sometimes, you know, when you're the technician and the host and I don't know, the producer, you run out of I don't know, space. you Well, thank you. We have 2 computers, 4 computer screens, 2 mixing boards, and 2 mouses, and 6 microphones. So that's a. Well, thank you. So I don't know. I usually like to start by saying a little bit about the guests because sometimes guests they're a little reluctant to speak highly of themselves and be too narcissistic. So with that, let me give some highlights about my guest and you listeners out there. Her name is Regina V. Cates. Regina is a best-selling author and spiritual coach and heart-centered, I like that, activist whose work empowers people to reclaim their faith and lead with love. Her new book, The Real Conversation Jesus Would Wants Us to Have, boy, that's a mouthful, a call, a call to bravery, peace, and love, arrives just in time for Pride Month, offering a bold and compassionate roadmap for those seeking to heal from religious trauma. I think there's a few out there. Uh, and yes, I hope so too. And rediscover faith in inclusion and not shame. So, faith in inclusion and not shame is a lot to be said right there. So, raised in a conservative Texas. Oh, no. Well, okay. Oh my, Kate's endured abuse, rejection, and years of self-loathing before making a radical choice to live with purpose, compassion, and authenticity. Her journey from trauma and self-liberation fuels her mission to uplift those marginalized by fear-based doctrine. That is so true, especially LGBTQ plus individuals longing to reconnect with their spiritual identity. Before we get too into the weeds, I just like to say we're all energy, and I think of the energy is the spirituality, and energy goes. Well, I'm glad. My, yeah. Yeah, if you take it all back to Jesus in spite of everything, I this is well, I'm talking too much about myself, but we'll get my my theme on Jesus. He was a carpenter, a Jewish carpenter actually. And okay. Well, anyway, he was a tradesperson and I think he realized his immortality and he felt what was important in the life while he was here to be kind and thoughtful of others and to be a generous human being and that's all he wanted and he espoused those things as the truths and for that he was put on the cross because he was a threat to too many political entities at the time he yeah. Yeah. Yep. Wow. Yeah. That's the sad part. That's the scary part, actually, too, to me. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Huh. You know, that's a good segue here for me to take you in a little bit of a different direction. We talk about religion and spirituality. So I did a little research and I said, can we estimate the precise increase? Oh no, that's the wrong one. Oh, I'm sorry. Here it is. Um, dang it. Oh, here it is. Sorry. So I ask this question: what are the trends with regard to spirituality and religion? And this is what I found. I said the trend in recent decades, especially in Western countries, shows a significant shift away from organized religion and a growing identification with spirituality. This phenomenon is summed up as spiritual but not religious. uh, yeah. So the U.S. Pew Research, so they did all the data, shows that only 63% adults identify as Christian, down from 78 in 2007. Those identifying, yeah, 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 yes. No. So today's the best example of it. There's no better example. History. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. I want to give you a little more on the spirituality scenario. Those identifying as religiously unaffiliated, they call them the nuns, NONES, including atheists, agnostics, and nothing in particular, rose to 29%, up from 16% in 2007. So the spirituality is gaining strongly. Europe shows even sharper declines, with countries in Sweden and Netherlands and the UK reporting high percentages of people with no religious affiliation. So, and the rise of spiritual but not religious, many unaffiliated individuals still express spiritual beliefs or practices such as prayer, meditation, belief in a higher power or energy healing. So it goes on, and there's in summary, let's do that. Religious followers, especially in organized traditional structures, are declining in many parts of the world. Spiritual followers, those seeking personal, non-dogmatic, and often eclectic paths, are rising. The trend reflects a more personalized and experimental, well, I thought it was, experimental approach to meaning, connection, and transcendence. Too many big words this morning, especially among younger generations. So there you have it. You're on the rising trend. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I like that.
Christian environment, that is a very difficult thing to do.
I just discovered I had a button mispressed. So some people may not have heard your side of the conversation, unfortunately. But I could hear it. I know I could hear it. I hope Edward can confirm that he can hear you now via text to me, just so I know it's all working properly. And now I lost my train of thought there. But I go back to I guess I want to understand more about your perspective on the Bible and who wrote it and how it was used and how it is used distinctively aside from what Jesus was as a person and what he he felt about mankind and what was important.
Well, the Bible wasn't written by Jesus. The Bible was written many, many years after Jesus' death. The Bible was transcribed to scribes given. The information was given to scribes to transcribe. It was a male-dominated society. The four, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, contradict each other constantly. So the Bible, I think, was written for... It's hard for me to say this because I am not a huge fan of it, because it's been twisted and used to persecute me forever and ever and ever. It's been twisted and used and still is today. And it's also up for tremendous amounts of interpretation. That's why I go back, Craig, to what we believe Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. How do you do that? How do you do that when your neighbor is having a party at 2 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep? How do you do that when they're hauling people away and putting them in prisons in foreign countries? How do you love these people? Well, part of love is setting very strong boundaries against abuse of any kind and dealing with that through the legal system and dealing with that through whatever systems that we can do. That's why at the very beginning of this conversation, I said those of us within the LGBTQ plus community really need to get together and on the same page about how important it is to protect all of our brothers and sisters that are labeled other. Because unless you're a straight, white, heterosexual male, you're pretty much in that other category.
Yeah.
So the Bible, getting back to your question, is a book that I always had problems with personally because of the 7 clobber verses that were used to persecute me. Earlier, we talked about me being put into a mental institution and sexually abused by a physician and all sorts of stuff because of these 7 clobber verses. But people do not understand, and I go into detail in my book, The Real Conversation Jesus Wants Us to Have, about where those 7 clobber verses came from. And it had nothing to do with homosexual orientation. Absolutely none. So the problem that I have with that is if you've taken these particular verses and used them, then you're going to take whatever else in the Bible and you're going to use that for whatever means that you have as an ulterior motive, because human beings have an ego, Craig, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to tell you something else when we talk about religion and spirituality. Spirituality to me, learning how to walk in love, has nothing to do with egocentric behavior. It has to do with controlling our ego so that we actually walk in love and walk manifesting through our spiritual nature.
Wow. You know, I'm going to tell you an experience. This plays to what Jesus believed in, the marginalized people. I was a regional hotel manager. I had 7 properties I had 13 properties in 7 Western states that I was a regional manager over. And I was in Boise, Idaho, and at the time, and we had some people, a family that had made it from, I don't know where it was, Chicago or Minneapolis, somewhere in there. And he had a job opportunity in Portland, Oregon. So he loaded his family up. They were dirt poor, got everything they could for this hope of this new job in Portland, Oregon. And they made it as far as Boise, Idaho, which is just another couple hours and you'd be in Portland. And the transmission went out on this old station wagon they had. And I'm going to get all teary-eyed, but
that's okay.
And they sat at Burns Brothers truck stop for 4 days and ran out of money and were stuck there and they didn't know what the hell they were going to be able to do. And someone alerted the news media, and so the news media showed up in the parking lot of our hotel, and the family was there, and they started asking if people could help them, come on by and help them out. If someone knows how to fix the car, if someone can spare a little extra money. And the amazing thing that I saw, it wasn't the people in the expensive cars that
Nope.
drove up. It wasn't the people who could easily afford it. It was the marginalized people that said, I was saving these coins for Christmas presents for my kids, but this is more important. And they would drive up and and give money and run away. They didn't want any notoriety. They just wanted to do. And we raised enough money. I put them up in the hotel for 3 days. We raised enough money that they could get their transmission fixed and they could make it onto Portland, Oregon. But the lesson I learned there was those who suffer most are the ones who are the most generous when it comes to other people that are suffering as well. And
well, that's right, Craig, because we can relate. We have empathy. And that's why I said at the very beginning of this beautiful conversation we're having is that members of the LGBTQ plus community can really rise to the top and put our arms around our brothers and sisters that are being targeted as other because we understand what it's like. That's the problem with empathy. You've got to have it for folks because you've had it to you. See, if you're a straight white heterosexual, well, that's heterosexual and straight's the same thing. But if you're a billionaire, you're not going to relate to what's going on. You can't because you can do whatever you want to, even if you're super rich. And it doesn't mean that there's not super rich people out there that have hearts of gold and they help in every way that they can.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying, folks. So I don't want them to receive a whole lot of hate mail. But what I am saying is that you and I understand because we've been there, done that. And also, we treat people as we would want to be treated. That is the secret to a world that we all want to live in.
It's so simple.
It is. Well, it's very difficult to practice it sometimes, Craig.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote this book, The Real Conversation Jesus Wants Us to Have, because I go into great detail. See, this is personal story that I share. I can't write fiction. It would be lovely if I did. I'd probably make more money. That would be wonderful. But I can't write fiction, but I can share my heart. And that's what I do through personal stories. One of the most transformational experiences that I've ever had, Craig, was when I lived in Los Angeles and I actually sobbed in a homeless man's arms. I lay this story out in the book. And it's absolutely beautiful because in that moment we shared unconditional love.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely unconditional love. And that experience, being vulnerable to that experience, changed me forever. Absolutely changed me forever. And that's what I talk about in this book. We need to have these kind of experiences. We are pitted against each other every single day. And those of us who are marginalized need to stand together. Like I said, wrap our arms around our brothers and sisters who also find themselves in this position, whether they're straight or whatever.
Right.
We can be the change we want to see,
Well,
Greg.
and there, another something I was reminded of actually earlier today was that we often see discrimination for things that are, you look gay, so, or you look different. But there's so much hate and discrimination for just being your ethnic background or just being a little bit different or having being on the spectrum with a disability. There's so much we can't dismiss that there's hate there's less love and understanding with that demographic. It happens. It knows no barriers. It's not just gay people. It's
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about anybody who's marginalized. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to make that.
For our listeners, absolutely sure. My sister is one of the leading experts in the United States on people on the spectrum. I am very familiar. I have people in my family that have been born with different skill sets, So I'm talking about anybody who's being attacked as marginalized, whether that be someone who's differently abled or someone who's black, a woman, whatever, it doesn't matter. And if we pay attention, we will see that this stuff is intentional. You know, we live in a community and in a society that where gossip and reality TV pit us against one another all the time.
Yes.
I don't watch that because what we concentrate on, we create. And I don't want to create that in my life in any way, shape, or form.
Wow. Yeah, just following it is supporting it.
Well, that's what I'm thinking too, because when you're following it from whatever vicarious thing that we might get from these things, then we are supporting that, and therefore they make more and more of these. If you really watch some of the crap on TV, sorry, I hope I can say crap. If I used the word circumcised earlier, I think we could probably say the word
I think
crap.
you're good.
Okay?
You're good. Yeah, you're good.
But if you really look at it, it's trying to dummy everybody down, but it's not only intellectually, Craig, it's also emotionally and spiritually. And I don't have the kind of lifespan left anymore, and I never really did enjoy those kinds of pursuits. I am very much interested in building community and helping someone else and being part of the change that I want to see, and not sitting there and getting some sort of weird gratification from watching someone else suffer.
Yeah.
That means that my life sucks so bad that I want someone else's life to make my life feel better. That is intentional, and I think those of us with the heart to do so need to just turn it off and walk away, and then people will begin to see that we don't need to have that kind of television anymore, that kind of entertainment.
Yeah, click those clicks. Which is what it is, the measurement.
Well, may I say something about that real quick?
Yeah.
Because you talked to me at the very beginning about selling myself and stuff, and I'm just blessed, but I have over 450,000 people that follow me on Facebook. I don't care about that number at all, Craig. I do not. Why? Because it doesn't measure who I am.
Okay.
And if we've become so shallow in this particular society that we care about something that is not important, then I believe that we really need to look at ourselves. What is actually important? I don't care if I'm remembered for that at all. I don't care if other people think that that's important.
I will toss this in the mix there. I often, and on the program I've talked about before, there's so many videos on YouTube. So much of our information is YouTube. And it is they find a pattern in your viewing, then they feed to that pattern, and it's very problematic. It's a mess.
Algorithms.
Yeah. But I will look at a feel good video where someone has done something that's good and it's well documented. It's not, and the numbers of the people that view it are like within 2 or 3 days can be 2 or 3 million.
Absolutely.
And so I'm saying to myself that at least there's people that love nice, kind, good things that are being done. And those numbers represent perhaps that there is a good, strong, thriving, positive level of humanity in spite of what we may see or be told that's out there that do believe in honor and kindness and goodness and doing good things for other people. So those numbers to me, I look at them and it helps me feel a little bit better about our culture and our level of humanity.
Well, I believe, Greg, I agree with you because I believe that there's a lot more people who are addicted to positive and kindness than there are negative. We just hear about the negative because of the social media algorithms.
Right.
They do that. And so if we're aware of that, what I'm talking about is turning off anything that is abusive for someone else, abusive to an animal.
Yeah.
Any of that stuff, any kind of addiction that we might have to someone else's suffering. Court TV is one of those things that I think is one of those, It's like you see someone else's trauma and you're like, oh my God, thank God, Julie, our life isn't like that. I'm talking about being smart in what we consider entertainment that allows us to form ideas about society, because I do believe with all my heart that more people are good, more people are kind, honest, and positive, but we do not live in a culture right now where the algorithms push that out. those videos that you're talking about are shared, and it is an organic kind of thing. And that's
Yes.
fabulous.
Yes.
It's organic, though, and that's wonderful. That's how it should be. But it's not how it's, in my understanding of it, how it actually works right now.
It comes back to a Native American story, lots of stories, but where the young warrior, or I'm going to say the young Native American, true Native American, asked his father, I have, in my mind, I'm fighting good and evil, and I don't know how to deal with it. And the wise one said, it's like you've got two wolves in yourself, and what you do is and one is bad and one is good. You feed the good one.
I read something the other day that there's a lot more to that story, because I've quoted that too, Craig, and I think that's great. It is where you put your energy. That's what we create.
Yep.
If we're in a society that is focused on the negative, then we're going to create more negative, or we're going to see more negative around us. And those interactions that we have with other people, you might go for a whole week and not have anything positive happen with you, but that doesn't mean that everybody else in the world is not experiencing wonderful exchanges with people all the time. And that's what I think we need to look for more and more, especially today with what's going on in our country and around the world. It seems that the algorithm for our legacy media and most of our other media is skewed to the negative. And I do believe people want to have feel-good stories. I believe people want to have wonderful examples of people overcoming great adversity. We love those animal rescue videos. We love all of that because it warms our heart. And that's the part of us. See, Craig, we are energy, but we are spiritual beings on a great human adventure. And what we focus on, we are going to create. So if we focus on walking through life as love, as a spiritual being, then we're going to attract more of that to us, and we're going to see more of it in action.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about when we turn some of these things off. We want to support the positive in ourselves and in other people, and we also want to have a very good handle on how we're being programmed. And we don't want to be part of that brainwashing, just like religious indoctrination. We do not want to be indoctrinated to something that does not feel that it would be aligned with the heart of Jesus.
Well, take your case in Texas and religion that was, I would say, fed to you on a steady diet. You had the wherewithal to make the distinction of what is good for me. And even though it sounds like it was very difficult, you made that decision and didn't rely on the opinions and influences of others. You made that decision what was good for you and custom for you. And
well, the decision was made out of a life-saving necessity, Craig, okay? Because either I was true to myself or I would not be around anymore. And that is a place where a lot of LGBTQ folks get to. And I understand that because I have been there too. But I chose me because, you know what, Craig? There's nothing wrong with me. See? There's nothing wrong with me. And so as a little kid, I was sitting here going, wait a minute. There's nothing wrong with me. You hate me for something that's biological. I didn't choose this. It's not a lifestyle. This is who I am. This is genetic and biological, whatever it is. It's just the cards that we are dealt with. You know, they've done a lot of research on that, and I go into quite a bit of it in my book. So those of us in the LGBTQ community can really have some ammunition when we talk to some of these people who continue to tell us. I had somebody respond to the post that I posted about our show today, and they made a very rude comment about it being a place for pedophiles to join us here on your radio show.
That's
this
lovely
is what
fun.
I get all the time. You know, it's just like stupid, ignorant comments made by people who are not informed, and they don't really care.
With that in mind, I have to explain to our listeners, if you just tuned in, on Rainbow Radio today in beautiful Laguna Beach, we're having a conversation, excuse me, with Regina V. Cates regarding many things, but most importantly about religion and and spirituality on KXFM here. I was on your thought about it. I think this is what you said to me sent chills up my spine just a minute ago.
Which part of that, Craig?
Well, there was
We
a lot.
talked about
There's a lot to be
stuff.
said, but the most recent part where you were pushed to the point where it was a matter of survival.
Absolutely. Why? I was raised in a fundamentalist evangelical Christian church in the southern part of the United States. Had to go Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, Friday night.
Okay. So, and a lot of people, so this brings up some current political things going on. I wanted
Really? I hadn't noticed. Right?
I wanted to do some research on estimating the precise increase in suicides, specifically tied to the proposed budget cuts for LGBTQ specialists on the 988 Lifeline. And I'm sure you know what that is. It's a part of the Trevor Project, and it's funded to protect the kids that get pushed to their limit, like you, as a matter of survival. They come to this choice, am I going to say, well, I'm not worthy, I'm a bad person, I've been told I'm mentally ill, I've been told that it's immoral, and I've been told that what I do is against the law in many locations. So what's my self-appraisal going to be? Not very high. And so what are the choice? Should I be this demon bad person, or should I take my life? And I had that conversation with myself. I had my dad's .22 pistol in my hand, and I thought maybe this was a message. I should use it because it kind of happened crazily.
Well, you gave two choices to me, though, Craig, and I chose a third one. Okay, so let's give everybody out there a third choice. And that's why these hotlines are so very important, because there's a third choice. Either be the demon or end my life. There's another one. Stand up and be aligned with who God made me to be through a biological luck of the draw.
Right.
See, I feel very fortunate to be who I am, because my sexuality is only one small fraction of who I am. And I think that we as a society, and we as people who are members of this community, we have been vilified for one small aspect of who we are. That's not who I am. Yes, I live with a woman. We've been married for a very long period of time. I've always been with women. That's great. That's what I'm comfortable with. But, Craig, here's a secret. All of my best friends are men. They're very interesting, and they're all straight. So go figure that out, ladies and gentlemen. Just figure that part out.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Exactly. It's like very interesting. But we have to choose the other choice.
Well,
we have to make the other choice. And we need to, Craig, have the support system so little ones out there, larger ones out there, I'm talking about age range, okay, not physical people, can have that option to talk with someone about how they are worthy of having the very best life possible, and to keep them safe.
I'm going to share with some of the statistic that the LGBTQ Youth Specialist Line, launched in the fall of 2022, has already handled over 1.2 million crises contacts. Do you think they saved a few lives? You have to think in 1.2 million. According to the Trevor Project, LGBTQ youth is 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than their peers. An estimated 1.8 million seriously consider suicide each year. That's according to the Trevor Project. So that funding is being cut right now.
Okay.
And there's all the more reason for people to be proactive and take that third position. But I have to say about my experience with your option 1, option 2, and option 3, I think I took the option that says, well, I'm just going to, in my mind, I said, well, let's just see how this plays out. And that gave me the opportunity to realize that I was a good person, to realize that I had something to contribute, to realize that not everything I was told was what I should believe. And so it pushed me to that point, and it provoked me to follow that third path like you're speaking of. And I think that's a process that happens hopefully for more people than the darker side there. But
well, and if you don't mind me giving us another option. And the entire reason that I spent so much time and so much energy writing my 2 books, not only just to help me continue my healing, but it was to give us a really good idea of why we continue to have these stigmas in the first place. See, that's the problem. And that's what we need to address. It's like my question that I asked you earlier about male circumcision. Is this something that, because the body holds the score, is this something that makes some men really pissed off because they didn't have a choice over their body when they were 8 days old? See, so I want to get back to the heart. That's why I wrote this book, Craig. I wrote it because we need to make whole systems design changes here. This isn't about just supporting. We need to support, but we also need to create a culture where none of this stuff has to come up in the first place. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And that means that we transform the human egocentric, judgmental, and blaming, and there's another condition, into a more love your neighbor as yourself and get to know them as a human being and as a soul rather than, just looking at them as the outside package, you see? So my my goal is a little bit deeper, and all of these things are necessary, but in our family units, in our school, in our public policy, in our governmental policies, we need to get to the place where we're all on the same page, that we are creating this perpetual system of hate, self-hatred, and organized religion and religious indoctrination is, in my humble idea, the fundamental cause of all of this, and has been for centuries. The other thing I want to say before I will be quiet for a moment is that just because we're taught to believe something does not mean that that belief was or ever will be true.
Yeah, and I discovered that.
Well, that's the self-assessment that I talk about in this book, Craig, because this is a journey of sitting down in your bathroom alone, locking the door, whatever you have to do, and really asking yourself these hard questions about where we are headed as a human species. And as long as we continue to stay on this hamster-fueled, cocaine-fueled wheel of not getting to our spiritual nature, where we don't do these sorts of things to each other anymore, we are not going to survive as a human species. We're just not going to do it. And at the age of 68, I feel this great need to be a voice for us to say, look, we need to look at politics. We need to look at our system of government. We need to look at why we're allowing money in politics in the first place. We need to look at circumcision. We need to look at women's rights. But we need to do this as a transformational process so that we grow the spiritual nature of who we are and not keep perpetuating this. Yeah. Let me give you an example. We are such a wasteful country that we have humane societies all around the United States. Why can't we just educate so that we spay and neuter? Why can't we go into these communities and get people to understand that that's the responsible thing for themselves and for their pets? Why do we have to have both things? You see what I mean? They don't make sense logically or spiritually. So can't we get to the place where everybody's responsible, or at least most people are, and they take care of this problem at the root cause of it? You see? Yep. That's what I'm talking about with this too. The root causes, Craig.
Well, I go back to getting things done that make sense and that benefit. And sometimes, I just got to give an example that there essentially is, because I had a guest on, we're talking about CRISPR, which is another whole topic. But anyway, there's essentially a vaccination that is good for 6 months for against HIV. And if you do it for a couple of years, then you no longer need it, and you're essentially not HIV. But
right.
And I think there's 174,000 people die still a year due to HIV, and particularly in Africa, but particularly in outside of the United States. And it would be something to say, well, I'm going to toss a couple million at this, and we'll just get this out of the way. It can be eradicated and put away like it's never going to happen again, And what happens is so much of that money gets caught up in so many illegal grifting. Well, we got to run it through the government. They got to make this assessment, and they got to decide who's going to get it and who's going to administer it, and where the product is coming from, and what tariffs might be added to it, and all the other BS. There we go. That goes along with it. That it never gets done, and that in itself is a problem. I don't know. I think that happens with your example. Well,
but here's the fundamental thing that I would say to that, Craig, and I think we're probably a couple of generations, if not several millennia, away from this particular enlightened state. And my job is to try to help wake us up as much as I possibly can while I'm in this particular lifetime. But what is the most important thing that someone can be? And that is a person of integrity. And so if we are going to change our society and our world for the better, then the people who are in positions of decision making must be the highest level of integrity. And yes, there's going to be systems that you have to work within. There's going to be opportunities for corruption in almost everything, because when money's involved, that's why it was called the root of all evil. However, I truly believe, and I believe that Jesus was one of the enlightened messengers that told us that we can create this kind of society where those people are at the top are no longer susceptible to bribes. If you take money out of politics in the United States and go with something that I suggest in the book, Sortition Democracy, then you've got everyday citizens like you and me that are making the decisions for us, you and me. So there are solutions to these things when you really look at these from a different perspective. But when money is involved, then you've got money equals power, and money equals intelligence, which it does not, ladies and gentlemen, sorry. But all of these things, I'm talking about a transformational shift in how we view ourselves and how we operate as people. So, yes, Jimmy Carter was able to almost eliminate, if not eliminate, the guinea worm throughout the world. And so we can do it. We can do it. We have enough food on the planet to feed everybody. But we also need to talk about why we have 8 billion people on a planet that is not going to be able to sustain that. Okay? So, yeah, lots of things to talk about, Greg, but there are solutions to these.
Well, if you look, if you say you're an astronaut and you're looking down at the Earth and it's this big blue marble and it all looks, and someone said to you, there's, I forget how many million people are on the planet. But,
8 billion.
Okay, so of the 8 billion, there are probably maybe there's a dozen people in very powerful positions that control everyone. And why is that? Why do we allow so many powerful leaders to lead so many? I mean, Putin and our own president, or that it's the whole structure just doesn't make sense. But
but this structure has been around for a long time, Greg. Well, you've got the king that's up there, and then you've got the leader that's up there. And I think that what I'm proposing, and like I said, it's probably a couple of millennia away, if not more than that, is a different kind of social structure altogether. And I truly believe that that's what we need, because if we're going to survive, and my book, The Real Conversation Jesus Wants Us to Have, ask us some questions that I think that if those of us who want to be on the leading edge of change within our community, within our school systems, within whatever, then I have some very important questions that we need to think about. But I do believe that we can create this new world. I do. Jesus was crucified bringing a message that this was possible. And whenever you do this, whenever you go against the power structure, you're going to meet resistance. And that's okay, as long as a vast majority of people understand that change needs to happen. Eventually that change will happen, just like spaying and neutering or keeping AIDS, giving AIDS medicines to everybody in the world. If Jimmy Carter can do this, we can do this. We have to be focused, and we have to, most important, if nobody gets anything from today, we have to elect people of integrity And in detail, in my book, I go into great detail about what it means to live as a person of integrity.
Can we?
Because
I got to interrupt for just a second. It's the top of the hour. I need to do some station identification. Can you stick around for a little bit more?
Absolutely, be happy to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I got to get some stuff in the hopper here, and then we'll take it. We'll have more conversation with Regina V. Cates here on Rainbow Radio.
KXRN LP, Laguna Niguel, Laguna Beach. KXFM on 104.7, KXFMradio.org.
Hey there, what's up, Laguna? Janice Murray here with news. The big decision on making the Forest Avenue Promenade permanent is coming up fast. If you want your say as a homeowner or resident, go to the next City Council meeting this Tuesday, June 10th at 5 p.m., but get there a little early to secure a seat in City Hall chambers. Those against the promenade ran a full-page ad in the Indy newspaper this week, claiming the promenade hurts over 100 business owners, and they regret the almost 50 parking spots that would be lost. While Mayor Alex Runagi said in a podcast last week that every time he goes out and talks to residents, they seem overwhelmingly in favor of it. He also notes there have been 7 public hearings on the promenade to date. Again, the City Council meeting is this Tuesday, June 10th at 5 p.m. at City Hall. And I'm Janice Murray for news on 104.7 KXFM. And now, here's Dave.
Well, our friend, the June gloom marine layer is still in place. Hi, this is KXFM meteorologist Dave Murray as we continue through our weekend. And on this Sunday, mainly cloudy during the morning and into at least the early afternoon. But again, keep our fingers crossed for partly sunny skies going through the afternoon. But it's that murky, kind of hazy sunshine out there. 71 degrees should do it for the high at the beach. The mountaintop about 72 in the canyon, near 70. Tonight, it's all about clouds, 59 degrees Monday and Tuesday, looking like the warmest day of the week because the marine layer is going to be a little bit weaker, just a little bit. So clouds giving way to some afternoon sun, about 71 degrees for the high each day Monday. And again on Tuesday, full moon coming up. On Wednesday, it is known as the strawberry moon. That's my forecast. I'm meteorologist Dave Murray. Tune in, turn on to KXFM 104.7, Laguna's Community Radio.
Hey guys, it's Ben, the host of Modern Classics here on KXFM. Tune in every Saturday afternoon from 1 to 3 p.m. for 2 hours of the latest and greatest in independent music, as well as classic cuts from the 80s, the 90s, and everything in between. So what are you waiting for? Tune on in every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. right here on KXFM, Human Crafted Radio.
This disclaimer is a statement notifying listening audiences that any opinions expressed on our shows are not representative of Laguna Radio, Inc., its management, or its board of directors.
But they're our opinions. Hey, Regina, I want to welcome a guest who's here, just tuned in, and he does fairly frequently. He's on the Zoom, so you can't. You're called in, but you can say hello to Eddie.
Hi, Eddie.
And
Hi, Regina. How are you?
I'm good, sweetheart. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad we could hear you. When earlier I couldn't hear you, and I texted Craig. I said I can't hear her.
Well, I think we got that remedied.
Yes, you did.
That there was one little button. I bet there's like 6,000 buttons here in the office. So
you're a one-man band there, sir. You are a one-man band.
Yeah, I am thoroughly enjoying my conversation here with Regina, and she makes so much sense. Did you hear some of it, Edward?
I did. I could only hear your responses to her, but I kind of was. Yes, I was following along. I love all things spiritual. I love talking about it. I love it.
But the last part of it, I'm sorry that happened. Anyway, Regina, we have covered a lot. I guess what I want to say for the listeners that want to help or want to be a part or want to move in a direction that brings some of the things you've aspired in the last few minutes. Do you have any suggestions on that?
Well, if you don't mind me saying, I think that reading the book, The Real Conversation Jesus Wants Us to Have, would be a very good jumping off place because, like I said before, Craig, this is not something that is just for people who identify as Christian. I have a lot of people who are no denomination, but what they're doing, this book has been called The Blueprint to Heal Humanity.
Oh, I like that.
And so I believe, it's been reviewed like that, and it's very moving for me because that's exactly what I created it to be, my thoughts on how we can move forward as the spiritual beings that we are. And so that really is, kids, the first thing that I would do is go out there because there's questions, just like we talked about earlier. I go into politics, everything that you could, well, not everything, okay, that's being a little grandiose, but I go into so many different topics that we really need to think about. And in daily life, we don't. So that's one of the things. Find like-hearted communities. I'm not talking about like-minded because when you've got one polluted mind and you get two of them together, then wow, what have you got? A polluted mind party. So like-hearted. I
love that expression, like-hearted communities. I love that.
Well, and also don't ego box with people. That's something that I put in my first book, Lead with Your Heart. Don't ego box with people. So there's a lot of things that we can do every day. Are we ever going to solve all of the world's problems? I don't believe so. But I tell you what, those of us that are like-hearted sure can get busy in tangible ways to be the change that we want to see instead of just waiting for a savior, which, by the way, Jesus is not coming back. Jesus is already here. And every act of kindness and understanding and empathy and activism that is peaceful every single time we go to the streets, Jesus is with us, I guarantee you. The consciousness that was Christ never left this planet.
I like that thought.
That's such a great, I love that too, that imagery, or that, not even imagery, that it's a fact that, there are people around that are doing the work. And I think that's phenomenal.
My mother, I accused her of she could solve the world's problems with a conversation on the lanai and a couple glasses of wine. I bet we could. Well, she did pretty well. A bottle of wine and her guest, they could, I guess what it's saying is sharing the good things back and forth that make us all good and make us feel good. Really goes to help. And so I think maybe Regina's book and a bottle of wine would give you a whole new perspective and for me. Well, but that's my choice.
And if y'all want to hang out with me on a regular basis, I'm on Facebook, Regina V. Cates. I have my own Substack over there. What I'm thinking about, I am creating a community and have for almost 20 years of like-hearted people from around the world. And we talk about these kind of things and we work on these kind of things every single day. So join me over there on Facebook. It'd be fine. I'd love to have y'all over there. Because we can be the change we want to see.
A commentary on religion and spirituality. I have to say there's two events here right in Laguna Beach that point to more people moving towards spirituality. There is a church here, a big church, congregational church, and I don't know, I can't tell you which religion it was, but I maybe Methodist, but anyway, they recently saw such a loss of followers and church people that they decided to become a spiritual organization and no longer a religious one. And the congregation voted in favor of this and made that change. And so the whole facility is a spiritual one, which is a big transition, I think, and that happened. And also I have a friend who has been a religious, I guess, supporter, and he decided that he's going to become a spiritual one and abandons the religion persona per se, and he's got a lot more followers through that transition, and he's locally here too. I was even tempted to ask him to come to the program today, but maybe Regina, we can invite you back, and I can bring him in as well. And
Well, that'd be great. And again, what we talked about earlier is very important to identify what spirituality is. And for me, it's connecting to that source that is love. And how do we do that for ourselves and other people? Here's a very interesting point we haven't talked about. And I know you probably have to go and have
we're fine
people to talk about, but, to talk with. But we cannot love anybody else unless we love ourselves. And those of us who have been made into other because of whatever, whether we have an intellectual challenge, we learn differently or whatever. That's another thing we haven't even talked about. We have so many different learning styles, and yet we're crammed all into the same box. And if you don't fit in, like
Right.
Albert Einstein, then you're a loser. Yeah, right. Well, we see how well that turned out.
Yeah,
Making him a loser.
that is a subject I could go on and on about it, because I had horrible learning problems with dyslexia, and I didn't know what it was, and I couldn't really read a book because in adolescence it was so severe, and they put me in the retarded. I shouldn't say that. The challenged
Well,
group.
but that was what it was back then.
Yeah,
Craig.
that's what it was.
Okay.
And I scored genius level on logic in the SATs.
That's right. Yeah.
And
Well-
the teacher, the counselor told my mother, well, that had to be a mistake because this other one is, he's not really there. So my genius part was considered a mistake. So I welcome Albert Einstein's opinion about it.
Well, but this is what my overall arching thing is about this, is that everything is designed to grow and change. We're designed to grow and change. Spirituality is designed to grow and change. And if I have any kind of influence with this lifetime, I want institutionalized religion to change into more of alignment with what we believe Jesus did, and that is lead with his heart. So, yes, we're going to go up against all of these people that it is a money-making machine, too. And like I said before, when you make money out of something, then there is a vested interest in you having people believe. I don't make money doing what I do other than my book sales. And as we all know, the publisher gets most of that, okay, by a vast majority. So this has been a business that I have for the past 20 years since giving up traditional work world where I was an administrator at colleges. This is something that I have done as a labor of love because I don't expect to get wealthy. That's not my goal. So when you've taken money out of that, then you've just got me. There's nobody that can buy me. I cannot be bought, Craig. I can't be bought. I don't have a price because I haven't made any money significantly in such a long time. It's like, oh, don't need that, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of things that we can do, and I think that we are going to move in that direction because, as I've told you several times before, we will not survive as a species if we do not do this.
Well,
it is a radical transformation.
That money's the root of all evil, and you're talking about religion. So much anti-gay religion and hate has been exported from the United States to Africa in so many of those countries that it is just appalling. These evangelists that can go there and make millions and millions of dollars in very expensive jets and lifestyles that they say God wants them to have. It's just disgusting.
Oh, prosperity gospel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't have any use for that.
That's exported from the United States into many of the I'd say a good number of African countries. And for that, I do have listeners that in some of those countries that tune in because I think they're safe to feel they can go on the internet and live stream, but they don't want to join any groups or have any affiliation in Facebook or any of those other things, that might make them out to be found to be gay and be fined and thrown in jail, which
absolutely, or tortured or whatever else that happens around the world too.
Yeah.
Here's the very basics between spirituality and indoctrination of someone's hate. Hate and love can't exist within us at the same time. And if you're being fed a diet of hate, then that is not of God and that is not of love, because God is love, period. That's it. The creative, original created source, creative, whatever our belief system of how we got all of this miracle that we're surrounded by, life in all forms.
Yeah.
Such diversity, that was born of love. Hate didn't make a bluebird or a hummingbird or the beautiful animals that we have or the wonderful diversity of this particular planet as far as geography and as far as us as a human species. Hate did not make that. So if anybody says anything that is aligned with hate, it is not of love and it is not of God, period. That's it. It's that simple.
Well, and that seems to be the mantra of a huge political party in the United States, the hate part of it. Anyway, we could
let's
go on.
Change that.
Okay.
Let's
so,
change that.
Now, I've heard that you have a book out.
Yeah, a couple.
A couple of times this morning. Where is an easy way to get it? Is it
Amazon, Barnes and Noble?
Okay.
Anywhere books are sold, yeah. Erdman's published this book on March 4th of 2025. My other book was published, Lead With Your Heart was published in 2014, and it's still out there. It really is a personal journey of how I did not kill myself from being gay. And this one is more of a, let's think about all of these with the idea of solving it. So the real conversation Jesus wants us to have is on Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah. So you heard that, folks out there. Any other things that we can toss in there, Regina, that we haven't? There's tons of things. I don't know where to begin. Would you come back sometime?
Absolutely, be happy to. And if anybody is struggling, I will be happy to have communication with you. If you just write me at info@romancingyoursoul.com, because that's the business that I started. Okay. Romancingyoursoul.com, info@romancingyoursoul.com. And then if they put Rainbow Radio, Rainbow Radio question or whatever in the subject line, I will go through all of those and I will have personal conversation with you if you are struggling with your sexuality or we will find resources to get you to wherever. And if you just want to explore more of your spirituality, join me on Facebook, Regina V. Cates.
Okay.
Yep. Go to my website, Romancing Your Soul, Regina V. Cates. There's so much information over there, Craig. I have podcasts. I've done 2 podcasts.
Okay.
One of them was downloaded in 75 countries around the world. So I've got a lot of free information over there for folks.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Well, you are I don't want to say the bane of my programming is people like you and people that want to do good and share the love. And you fit that bill so wonderfully. And I appreciate your time. It sounds like you have a lot going on. And I think it's very admirable that you put yourself out there for people who do want to communicate directly with you, that they can. And
I am going to be communicating with her. I just found her on Facebook. I love it.
Did you find me over there? Yeah.
I sure did, Regina. And I followed you. I see a picture of you with a tattoo. We're going to talk.
We'll have to figure out, where is that tattoo picture? Yes, I do have one tattoo. Yeah. My official Regina V. Cates Facebook page is where you can go and you can message me and all sorts of stuff. And give me a little time. I got a lot of stuff going on, including my father. I was adopted, and my sister was adopted, and our sweet mother was almost 100 when she passed away. But my dad is going to be 102, and he's dealing with bladder cancer right now. So my life could shift here pretty quickly, in addition to all of the promotion I'm doing and everything. But it could shift a little bit. So if it takes me a minute to get back to you, please, understand I'm going through some life stuff too.
That happens. Yeah, I am too. Yeah. On the other side of that, I have to say.
Yep.
I'm seeing a picture of him right now. He looks great in this picture at 102. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Did you see that cute little picture I took of him? Doesn't he look mischievous?
Oh my gosh, it's so great. I love it.
Isn't he cute? I know, he's precious, isn't he? I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. And we will be in touch again. I hope you have now that you just got your book out and you're just kind of dealing with it. It's probably be a while for your next thing on the horizon, but it sounds like you're very proactive on so many levels that I'm glad that you had the opportunity to tune in with us today.
It's my pleasure, Craig. It's always a pleasure.
I agree with everything you said. I'm going to have to listen to this conversation again. just because I think there was so much put out there by you, Regina, and so much of it made such good sense. It's very refreshing, and it can pull you out of a negative, thought process that's self-defeating, I think. So I'll praise you for that, and thank you so much for being here this morning.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure.
Thank you. I love you.
I think the feeling will become mutual very soon.
Very soon.
All right, Craig. Y'all have a great day, and thanks again for this opportunity.
Yes. Okay.
Bye, Regina.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, Edward, did you?
That was wonderful. I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. It was great, and I followed her on Facebook. I loved everything she talked about. It's very poignant.
Yeah, I think so many kids. I love the part where, I don't know if you caught it, where you get pushed to your extreme, to your end, to where you can't deal with it anymore, and you come to this decision: maybe I should take my life, or maybe I should like I thought, well, let's just see how this plays out. What have I got to lose? It's kind of my thought process, and so, and fortunately, a lot of people take that, well, let's see what happens attitude, and that's good. But there's so many, I think, we don't know. We don't know that they were gay. Their family doesn't know they were gay, and they've taken their own life, and they don't know why, and they think they failed as a parent and all those other things. So, and it's very disturbing that so much of the funds and help for those people, and not just gay people, but people that have life situations that they feel so unhappy about, that a phone call, a conversation. That's why I say you need to nod at people on the street and smile and say thank you, and share the love. Those very, very.
That is a huge. It's so true. I mean, a lot of my most darkest times were, when I was turned inward, and I'm just only thinking about myself, right? I'm not saying that is. I'm not saying that everybody who is depressed or going through something is selfish. I'm just saying we get so everything gets turned inward. But if we take that simple action of saying hello, then it changes, right?
Yeah, and you never know what other people are going through or what's going on in their life, and just to be a kind person is an important thing. So so how are you, Edward? What's going on?
Oh my gosh, Craig! I almost sent out the rescue teams last week. I logged on and you were not here, and I panicked. I texted Eamon. I was like, "Does anyone have eyes on Craig? I need to see him right away. I need to make sure he's okay." It turns out you were hanging out with that ne'er-do-well in Dora at some bar.
Yeah, some bar. And actually, we raised a good amount of money for the Friendship Shelter, and I'm so happy.
I did hear that. I love that you guys did that. That was wonderful. And once I found out you were with Endora, I knew you were in good hands and you'd be back this week. And
actually, I picked Endora up, and we motored together and took her home. So
you escorted Her Royal Highness to her event. Did you?
But she's very royal. You can go on Laguna Beach Pride on Facebook and see all the photographs. We filled the room up.
I saw that. I was very impressed.
Something to say, and I meant to say it with Regina too, is that this year we, as we've done in prior years, we do a flag distribution. And I remember in 2018, it seems like every house, every business, everyone had the rainbow flag going on for the month, and we would run out of flags, and it was pretty solid until this year.
Yeah.
And now, well, they faded out a little bit last year, but this year we struggled to get people to want to spread the flags out. And even someone who is in the community, who's a community leader, who just gives them away and lets everyone know, if you want a flag, I'll deliver it to you, indicated that so many more people didn't want the flags as in past years. And so it's really discerning, because I really feel like we should put the flag everywhere now. It's just that much important, because, and I call it the flag of diversity. It's not say, I'm gay and in your face, and I deserve something special. That's not what it's about. What it's about is diversity and embracing diversity, and everyone is all the colors of the flag are all the colors of the world.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's a nice spin on it.
It's a unifying symbol as opposed to ones symbols that are not, and there's plenty of those around. You'll find them in various dark corners of the political spectrum. People just waving their flag, and they think, and the thing is that they think that what we're saying is that they see it as anti them as opposed to it being something that's all inclusive and meaning all the colors of the rainbow. And yes, even conservatives, dare I say.
And lately, again, this DEI thing has come up again, and it's so misunderstood, I feel. And it what it says is that everyone should be treated equally. It doesn't say that certain minorities are more important than other minorities or other non-minority groups.
Right.
That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
It's about facilitating, finding the best person for the most qualified person for the best job, to do the best job for whatever business it is or whatever government office it is. And to DEI has become like the scourge of the world. Like it's just this horrible thing. And
it's a red herring. It's something that they use, it's a dog whistle. It's something they use to other themselves against everyone else. As far as you have to do, they're trying to make it that it's a requirement that you hire people of color or whatever. But all it says, like you said, is the person most qualified for the job should get the job.
But it's not the equal opportunity was a requirement because it had quotas and it had minority quotas that you had to hire. So there was some discrimination, and the Supreme Court decided that it was unconstitutional. And so now it became the DEI, which was about, I don't think it was DEI, it was a result of that. It was DEI was just sensible practices about finding the right person for the job. And for those businesses that aspire to to have prejudice, that they should have a DEI policy that says we will hire the best person for the job. And that's really what it means. We will hire the best person for the job, regardless of many things,
Right.
But according to politics, it's not that at all. It's about discriminating against white male.
Yes. Yes. Because we're having problems, right?
I'm a male. I'm a white. I'm a man. But I do have that one strike against me, I suppose.
I'm right there with you.
I don't look at it that way, though. Yeah. So that's my truth that I'm speaking to. So how is Pride Month going for you up there?
Pride Month is happening. We had yet another parade and a celebration today. Over here down Hollywood Boulevard, the parade went down La Brea, then onto Santa Monica, and it ended at West Hollywood, where West Hollywood's last week started. It's just a big gay Pride Month. Pride, and then we have another one next week, I think, too.
They didn't send out the National Guard or anything?
No, they're just hanging out downtown today. Apparently, the National Guard is hanging out downtown. I'm avoiding the downtown area at all costs.
The whole thing is so obscene.
I think everyone is kind of just hunkering down and praying for daylight. It's quite alarming, but the whole thing is intended to shock and scare you into submission. It's part of his plan. It's been part of his plan since day one. I was talking about this a while back, in January. I said this is what he's going to do. Not even probably. This is what he's going to do, and he's following the playbook. He's doing the same thing. Same thing they did in South Korea. That guy was impeached, and now now I think he's in jail. It will be his undoing. It will be his undoing.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Well, I just think it was an opportunity to put more fuel on the fire, and that's what he did. And
yeah.
And then this about penalizing California. I love California, and it contributes so much to the economy. It's the fourth largest economy in the world. And so there was some comments that from the current administration that they threatened that no longer give any money to California. Well, if you did look up the numbers, every dollar we give to the federal government in support of things that we need to pay to the federal government for various projects, we get 88 cents back.
Right.
So it's something like $20 billion deficit. I forget.
Right. Your math ain't mathin', sir.
So Gavin said, well, if that's the case, Gavin Newsom, if that's the case, then we won't send any money because we don't get enough back to begin with. Yeah,
we're carrying all these red welfare states.
Yeah, exactly. The red welfare states. And I'm unanimous in that.
Yeah, play for him.
Play
Well, all this is quite depressing, but I do have one thing to share that I think might just brighten your day. Are you ready?
We need it.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Well, a week ago last Friday, Craig, I attended Ruta Lee's 90th birthday party.
Oh.
And in attendance, I escorted my dear friend Constance Towers there. Constance Towers of oh my gosh, the King and I fame. I first saw Constance I first saw Connie on stage with Yul Brynner in the King and I when I was in 7th grade.
Oh my.
But anyway, Connie did her 20-year run on General Hospital as Helena Cassadine, the Evil Queen, right? A role originated by Elizabeth Taylor. But anyway, I escorted Connie to Ruta Lee's 90th birthday party. She was her and Debbie Reynolds were like, they did shows together all the time. And guess who was there? Neil Sedaka.
Oh no.
Joanne Worley. It was Ruta Lee.
Oh my gosh.
And do you remember Fritz Coleman, who did the news?
Yeah. Oh, news. Fritz, he was supposed to be on
he
the
was,
radio.
He was the weatherman. He's wonderful.
Yeah.
He did a set. He did a whole comedy set that was hilarious. But we had the best time. Ruta Lee was 90 years old. She came out in a sequins gown and high heels and did a bunch of numbers, climbed up on top of a piano. We were all just gasping like, oh my God, she's going to climb right up on that piano. She sure did. Got right up on there and sang songs. It was unbelievable, Craig. It was like amazing.
How did this just kind of happen? Did it?
Connie has been, Connie and I have worked together for over 20 years. I've helped her with several auditions, and when she would get a role, I would go up and I would work with her and coach with her on it. She's fantastic. She and I met through our acting coach, our mutual acting coach back in the day. And I've been working with Connie, over 20 years now. I have a fax from her that was sent in 1996. So she called me and said, would you want to come to this Ruta Lee's birthday party? I have an extra ticket. You could be my boy, my arm candy and my boy toy. I said, I would love it. Let's get them talking. So we showed up and it was amazing. It was so fun. I had such a good time, Craig. I thought of you. I said, oh my gosh, Craig's going to love this. Neil Sedaka, they drugged Neil Sedaka up there and he sang Love will keep us together.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he sang all those songs that he
has a lot of songs. I mean,
oh yeah, he used to write for Captain and Tennille all the time.
A little senior level now.
Oh yeah, it was unbelievable. Yeah, he had to get a little help getting on stage, but he was so adorable and so cute, and it was such a fun, loving night. Pink's hot dogs catered the party afterwards. We had we had cupcakes and Pink's hot dogs, and we sang and we laughed and we danced, and then we came home, and it was so much fun.
We need more things like that. We need to have festive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Craig, Joanne Worley of Laughing Things. She was wonderful.
Yeah.
She was hilarious. She's still going strong. She was so adorable. And everyone just had such a good time. I thought we were at the not El Coyote. I'll think of it in a second. It was some theater out in the valley.
A theater?
It was a theater. Yeah, big theater out there. It was wonderful. So that's what I did a couple weeks ago, and I thought, oh my God, Craig's gonna love this story. So I chose. But here's the dirt. So
oh yeah. Come
Now,
on,
you know,
give us.
okay. Now, you know, Craig, I don't like to repeat gossip, so I'm only going to say this once.
Yes.
So apparently, Ruta had to have her heart restarted like 2 days before the show. Somebody had to take the paddles to her. And she was like, the
God.
show must go on. And she got right up there, even after getting the paddles. The doctor had to bring her back to life. And she goes, and he suggested that she not do the show. She goes, I'm doing the show. And she went up there, and Craig, that's not the worst of it. And 2 weeks prior to her heart stopping and having to be restarted, she had a stroke.
Oh, my Lord.
Like she had a minor stroke, but you would never have known it, Craig. You would never have known it. She was
Good on her.
A pro.
Grabbing every spark of life that there is.
Oh my God. It was amazing.
Lord, I have that stamina if that ever happens.
Oh, let me just take the paddles to me and let me, get back on set and finish my scene. That's what I want.
The show must go on.
Go on. That's what she said.
I remember Ed Wynn. He was in Mary Poppins, I believe. He did the scene where not Gwen, but Wynn, Winn. Right. The scene where I love to laugh, and that was one of the music song, or one of the script songs, whatever, of Mary Poppins. And his dream, and he made it, was to die on stage. Says, if I'm going out, I'm going out on stage. I'm not going to go as
Did he do it?
The wilted flower. No, he did not get his wish, unfortunately. But I always think of that. I don't know if I thought that was an admirable attitude to have. If I'm going out, I'm going to go out while I'm on stage. Enjoying what I do, enjoying what my life is about. Your stage could be that could be a metaphor for a lot of things. Being on stage, yeah, just like saying I'm here, I'm, and this is me. If you're tuning in, this is KXFM Radio, Rainbow Radio, here on a beautiful Sunday, cloudy but beautiful Sunday, because we're beautiful people. And I'm unanimous.
Yes, we are.
With my regular radio guest, Eddie, and covering all the important news. I have to say, Edward, there's so many disheartening things politically that this last week, particularly, and it's just hard to I don't know, to talk to my audience and some objectivity to it, because I do think on one hand, I think that a lot of it is overblown, a lot of it is over-manufactured, but on the other hand, there are certain things that are very, very disturbing that going on when it comes to human rights and just things like there was a comment I saw where it said, what about due process? If you didn't participate in due process in coming into the United States, then you shouldn't get due process going out. And I go, what? I say, so that's not it. I mean, if there's people that didn't participate in due process, that's a problem for them. But if someone is here and you want to remove them, you need to know whether they didn't participate in due process coming in, and you need to. So everyone should have their day. I mean,
yes.
If you're walking,
and part of the due process, by the way, is you get here and then you apply for asylum or whatever it is. If you're coming from a hostile situation, and that is the due process. And if you're waiting for that due process, you have a right, a legal right to stay here.
And to go to the courthouses where these people are complying with our immigration laws and arresting them is and not giving them due process is what's happened. So that's I didn't know I wasn't going to go on, but I do find that very disturbing, and several other things that I
have a MAGA friend who believe it or not, I do have a MAGA friend who I spoke to about this. I said, so tell me what this is about. I said, what is the stance on this immigration thing? And his whole thing was, well, if you come into the country and you come in through the front door, then you should be able to allowed to have that process. I said, well, define what does a front door mean? What does that mean?
Mm.
Well, if you go through the channels. I said, well, the channels are exactly what they're doing. They're coming across and they're asking for asylum from these countries. What, are you talking about overstaying visas, or dare I say, overstaying your visa and then marrying someone in that country like you did? Because we were over in Japan. I called him out on, because he did it. He went to Japan and married somebody to get his citizenship. And I was like, and then of course that shut him up.
This is an appalling thing that I found. There's an organization in Washington, D.C. called the Library of Congress. And so they call it a library because it has information, books, documents, everything that a library would have. But it is not open to the public for reading or access unless it's authorized. It is a Library of Congress for Congress. It is exclusively designed for Congress. So if they need to do any research on third world countries or events that have happened or documentation regarding a certain lawsuit or anything, it's everything that's important, including all of the legislative actions, all the details, all the documents as it relates to Congress. That's why it's called the Library of Congress. So they fired the chief librarian because she was putting books in there that they felt were inappropriate for children, which shows how stupid they are. The children don't read things from the Library of Congress first, and she's being penalized and fired. She got an email after 14 years as the administrator that we no longer, and when they were questioned, the administration was questioned, but it's because we don't feel that the books that she's allowing in there are spin well with our political agenda and our I don't know, our any mantra, and it just shows how crazy. And also, there's a new position, relatively new position, that is in the federal government that is called. It has to do. I shouldn't even bring it up. Anyway, this guy was a pizza delivery guy essentially, and he did graduate college, but he's never had a real job, and now he's in charge. You got to look it up. It's hard to believe, but he's in charge of terrorist research or protection from terrorist organizations. That's his position. I don't know. I'll stop with all that now. So, okay, I got it out of my system a little bit. But anyway, I loved our guest this morning, and I feel like it's like getting fresh, clean sheets on the bed.
Everything. God is love, and you can, and not to be weaponized or used in a way that to beat others over the head with. And I think that's something that I don't know. I just love what she said. I love what she said, and that's something that is a constant through, to my knowledge, most all religions in the world.
Yeah,
or
religion
teachings
has a history of having its own agenda, and not necessarily a connection to Jesus and his beliefs about the people of the world, So what can I say?
What's next on the on Laguna Pride calendar?
The library, I've been corrected. Library of Congress is accessible to the public. And it's open and Thursday, closed Sunday. But you need a free timed entry pass, which you can reserve online. There are tours. Well, I think I made a mistake on that one, but it is primarily for Congress, Congress's use. But I will take that back if that's the case, and I'll talk about it next week. Okay.
Oh, were you called out, Craig? Someone called you out. Oh,
I did. There's on Laguna Beach Pride's website. There are two events. One is at sports events where we've been invited to have sports days, and
is one of those the Angels game this Tuesday?
Yes, that's it. And then
yes,
what's the stadium that's up there? The Dodger Stadium. There's
Dodger
one.
Stadium.
Yeah, and they're playing. I think they're playing San Francisco. No, this Angel Stadium is playing San Francisco.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think it's the white ball, not
the white ball.
21. It's I think they call it baseball. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Oh, baseball.
Yeah, baseball.
It's not the orange one that bounces down the court. No, it's not.
No,
that's totally different.
Yeah, totally different. Yeah.
Craig, I want to talk about Andrew Christian retiring after 25 years of like shaping LGBTQ plus fashion. I have several of his underwear. Like as a bartender, he would have little parties at the bars that I worked at, and he would give away underwear. I would squeeze all my junk right in there. Those little underwears, I got to tell you, they're cute, but they're not the most. Some of them are more comfortable than others. Let's just say. But they're very cute on these boys. They wear these underwears and they're very cute. You know, he's retiring after 25 years of dressing us up.
We had them as a sponsor in some of our events.
I'm sure. Yeah, they were very good. He was very good about that. You know, he really did give a lot away. And you go on the website and you can get there's always good deals on stuff. You know, I like it. I love that underwear. I do.
Important point we need to bring out here on Rainbow Radio this morning to the LGBT community about the underwear. You know.
Yes, I think it's important. I do. I find it a little sad after 20. I can't believe you can do it for 2015 is when he premiered at the Pride Festival in Puerto Vallarta. He did a fashion show, and it kind of just yeah. I actually. Oh, do you remember Sam, who worked at the bar with us? Sam, my friend Sam Garfield.
Yeah,
he was an Andrew Christian model for a long time. You could find pictures of him in that underwear all over the place.
Goodness. Well, and Calvin Klein? Who was the big one for Calvin Klein when it first started? Was it
Marky Mark? Yeah,
yeah. That really put him on the world stage. So never underestimate the value of underwear.
That's right. That's right.
You heard it.
The funny thing about Andrew Christian was he would cut more and more of that underwear away, basically exposing your entire back. The material of the underwear would be less, but every time the price would always go up. I'm like, what is he charging?
Oh, Ramona, I think you're getting all verklempt. I think you're getting...
I don't understand it.
You don't understand.
Less material and more money is what it was. Oh my God, it was literally a thong is more money than just a regular boxer brief.
And per square inch of fabric.
Yes,
it's outrageous.
It's a great business model, but I found it as a consumer very confusing.
Now I'm going to bring up an oldie. Do you remember International Mail?
Oh, I do.
It was right. It used to be right there on Santa Monica Boulevard.
Yes. Whatever happened to that? I'm looking it up right now.
They moved to another location, a 2-story store. It looked really nice, and then I think they lost their way. But International Mail, for those who would, the catalog was very important, especially in rural communities where you didn't have any gay literature, and it had clothes for. Let's just say a queen in Palm Springs, an older queen in Palm Springs with poor taste would wear.
And if you want to know more about it, Craig, I just found out there's a documentary called All Man, the International Mail Story. Explores the catalog's history and influence, featuring interviews with those involved in its creation and those who were impacted by it.
Yeah, I think that would be good. It's part of our history. It's like Circus Books.
Yes, which is also a great documentary.
Yeah, that documentary was owned by straight people, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it was not that I discriminate or anything, folks. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I remember. I think I knew some international male models. I think we all, had a run in or two with an international male model, don't you
back
think?
in the day, huh, Eddie?
Yes, back in the day.
I'm
Back in
glad
the
you
day.
discovered that I'm alive and well, and I'm back, and I will be back this next weekend. I don't have a guest, but I will be back, and maybe Edward can join us with some
Oh,
more
I'll jump on. Craig, you've
Rona
got to let
Bear.
me know when you're not going to be on the air because
I know. I'm going to let everyone know.
yeah, you can't just ghost us like that because
I'm
because
sorry.
people. I mean, I literally was sending out like SOS, like anybody have eyes on Craig? It's not, and then you weren't answering your phone. It was terrible.
Well, I was at the event, and yeah, I didn't answer my phone because we were very, very busy. So yeah.
And you probably had some cocktails, didn't you? Go ahead,
Mm,
admit it.
I did have a glass of wine. I had one, just one, but that's all
Bless
I
your
needed.
heart.
That's all I needed.
When I was drinking, you never would hear me say, "Oh, I had just one glass of wine." You would never hear me. Those words would never pass my lips.
I hate to admit that I've discovered that you can have a bottle of wine with dinner.
Oh, of
Oh,
course you can.
whole bottle for
Just
yourself.
the one.
Yeah, well, yes, but but that's when you have a 3-hour meal when it's best, and a lot of
Mhm.
conversation and friends. That's when it works the best. But anyway, we're out of time here, Eddie.
Oh, you've done it. You've done it again, Craig. You've
No, I just want to thank our guest and Edward for being here and sharing the love, and what's getting close to the middle of Pride Month here and around the world.
That's right.
Share the love, wave a flag, a wink, a nod, and a smile at
That's right.
anyone you see on the street that you think deserves it or feels like you want to share that. Anyway, I do have a song that I feel is appropriate, all things considered, with the political uh, BS that's going on and the things that appear very disheartening in our world at this point. And I wish everyone a fabulous Sunday, what remains of the day. It's only noon, and time to go out and share the love with friends and do something that they don't expect, something that surprises them, something that warms their heart.
That's right.
Thanks.
Happy Pride, everyone. Stay safe.
Happy Pride.
Imagine there's no heaven. See as if you try.